So this place, The Rose, is like pretty hip spot. It's like always packed. It's on
Yeah.
Rose Avenue. Yeah. And it's like nice and it'd be a good job. And basically I went in for the interview and saw for barback initially, but he's like, we also need a food runner too, and that would get more shifts and like potentially more tips. So I'm like, awesome. Okay, I'd prefer to do that. And he's like, yeah, you can always switch over to that. It's just putting it out there. And at the end, he was talking like I had the job, but then kind of left it as like, okay, dude, so this is great. And just like I said, like I just have a
In touch,
couple.
maybe.
What?
We'll like maybe keep in touch.
Literally like that. Well, because he said under his breath, and he kind of kept saying like yeah, I just have like a couple other things to look over, but like giving himself a safe space, like maybe like give him an out. But he did say under his breath at the end, like I have a couple other interviews to do, but
God.
and so I kind of look at it as like probably if there's someone that like has 3 years experience or something, they'll
Yeah.
get the job over me.
What would you have for like actors who are listening who are, obviously this is like a common path. You do the server slash bartender thing. It's like
Yeah.
it's kind of brutal. Like, what advice would you give to someone who's trying to get that money?
They probably are doing better than I am in getting the side gig at this point. uh
Not necessarily, dude. I mean, I feel like
no.
these
Yeah.
these positions are hard to come by, at least for like
Okay.
getting good shifts. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like,
And you need a ton of shifts to be able to pay for a place in LA.
yeah, totally.
Um, I think uh actually what I have learned is that if you can help it, try to get a job at a place that's like managed well, that has like a good company culture. And it's like hard to come by, but go to a place where you feel like you're genuinely learning a lot other than just learning the lifestyle of the grind, because that counts for something. But like a lot of people that I met and like creative people that work at like the last place I was at, for example, like they're just grinding and they don't have enough time to like look up and look for other stuff, really.
Hmm.
You got to
Like a
be.
management spot, like something with good management. Are you talking about service positions or like another kind of company altogether?
I'm literally referring to like the managers and the people at the top of those restaurants
Right.
need to run their company like with a positive culture and not just like,
Because otherwise, you're kind of like grasping at straws. You're looking for shifts, that kind of deal.
yeah, everything's unorganized. And like at a lot of these places, even that are successful on one level, like they have the bare foundation kind of dialed in, and like they know how to make the restaurant run, you know, consistently, but also that doesn't mean necessarily that it's going to be like a solid place to show up for work every day.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
think
dude,
it could be worse.
culture is fucking huge.
The culture is huge. And that doesn't also mean like that, hey, just because you're working at a corporate office that has ping pong tables there, that's going to be like awesome either, Like,
But that's what a lot of people think like makes a good culture, which is funny. Like if they throw in a ping pong table or have like, you know,
Google has free food at lunch.
yeah, that kind of stuff. What's
Yeah.
interesting about that is like if you are in an environment like that, you get used to it so quickly. So it's like at first you're like, oh man, this is the best thing ever. But then you get used to it. And then if the culture sucks, it's like you're just in a shitty culture environment.
Have you been listening to that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia podcast? I forgot if we.
I listened to like maybe 8 episodes, but I haven't like been keeping up.
Oh, nice. But yeah. So and
It's
it's
far along.
it's hot and cold. Yeah. Um, but I just love how I think they're very funny when they like get into some good stuff.
Yeah.
And they talk about, they touch on like writers' rooms, offices, and how their office development has been over the years. And they're like, dude, we always wanted to be like one of those companies like The Simpsons or South Park that, like it's like a factory and like you don't have to leave because there's so much fun stuff there and everything. But we weren't that type of show. Like, even though we're like a long running show, and we tried that, we tried to have the ping pong table and everything, but we end up just not using them and
Yeah.
stuff. And yeah, it's definitely not like a one size fits all is the answer, but like you try to, I think a good manager recognizes what the company is and how to best complement that, but then also how to constantly keep making it better in different categories. Like,
Totally. And I'd also say that you can make the environment as like welcoming and like fun as possible, and you can make people not want to leave, but people always want to leave. Like if they're at work, they're at work. You need to have that
Yeah.
separation between like, yo, like now I'm chilling or now I'm doing my own thing. Like I think that like I don't think it's realistic for human beings to be expected to be in these environments, even if they have ping pong and
Well,
beer taps. It's still not going to make you want to stay.
this is somewhat interesting or really boring for listeners. I don't know. But
Well,
for
what's
instance, like,
interesting, like the hook there is this is the reality, unfortunately, of like so many people who come out to LA.
oh,
Like,
totally.
how are you
Yeah.
not homeless? You know, you have to like work these grinding jobs, and sometimes
Oh my
it's
gosh.
office environment, sometimes you're doing the server thing, but it's like this is a harsh reality that 99% of people in LA have to experience
Totally.
to
And
get.
actually, so I think also last thing with like the South Park people, I think they create a great place because they have these deadlines that like you can't leave the place for 7 days and they have
Right.
a deadline.
Right.
And so I think their stuff is more like they sized up what their model is. And like, day 3, and they only have 3 days left and they're so bunched up, and then they like figure like, oh, we gotta take a ping pong break,
Yeah.
because it's not to like woo us to be here more. It's just like literally, how do I like use a
That's
different part of my brain, right?
yeah. If you know that the deadline's so insane, but that's also crazy. Like, hopefully, no, I know for a fact, like when I'm owning my own company, I'm going to make it so like people don't have to stick around 24/7.
Would you make it like I heard like Patty Chayefsky, who wrote Network and stuff in the 80s? It's a little like film shout out there, like cinephile reference.
Yeah. No,
Um,
great.
yeah, legendary. I heard, I took a Robert McKee writing seminar, and he mentioned that he met the great Patty Chayefsky. I think that's the like his name. Maybe I'm mixing up his first name. Um, and he met him, and he said, Mr. Chayefsky, can I please see your writing zone where you write? And he goes, sure, you can see it. Like, and he took him across the street, and they went to his writing place, and his office was not like nothing in it. It was a blank room. There was a view, but his desk was turned away from the view.
Right.
And it was just a blank desk, no pictures or nothing. It was like at an office space or something, like a cubicle, so that he had zero distractions.
Got it. That's interesting. I've heard of writers with their process, like the guy who wrote that movie. It's the movie where they like sew buttons into their eyes. You know what I'm talking about? It's the animated film.
Coraline.
Coraline. Thank you.
Yeah.
The guy who wrote Coraline, I think it's like Neil Gaiman. He writes all of his novels in like a shitty hotel room because he wants to get the fuck out of there. And so
It's even worse.
yeah. And so he's like in this shitty hotel room, and he only allows himself to like either look up out the window at this like boring view or look back at the page. And that goes along with like being a writer takes so much discipline in terms of distractions. And it's like, to me, it's the hardest fucking thing in the world, and I think you can learn how to like get better at it, but it's like, I think it's the most disciplined art form for sure.
How's it been going for you this past week?
It's been going good. It's definitely been a state of transition coming off of like finishing a feature. I
Isn't it always?
always. I started out creating this outline for the next thing, which I definitely am going to be writing next. But then I got to this point where I started to take stock of what I had already written. And I've written, and I think you can see it here. Yeah, like these are the note cards here. These are the 5 screenplays that I've written. And that to me was the biggest indicator of like, okay, I could write a 6 screenplay right now. But at the same time, I have 5 screenplays that I finished. So isn't the much better way to go about it is to like revise all of them to be like good as fuck, so that I can then finally approach, representation, or like start submitting to them, them to festivals and stuff. Because I feel like it gets to a certain point where you can be hustling all the time, but you are ready at a level. So like,
Jumping up that
me,
hard.
yeah. So for me, I feel like it's almost self-sabotage if I just continue like trying to crank out another screenplay. Like if I'm writing my sixth screenplay and I haven't
Totally.
done anything with the other five, it's like, I'm probably scared of going to that next level at a certain, place.
Yeah, I think like that's definitely something to address in general, not just for you, but like when you're doing your creative work so much so, and that's such a tough part for most people.
Right.
And on some point, you're gonna have to say like, oh, what's the most beneficial for my going forward
Totally.
in general. Fascinating, and I imagine that's something you've been wrestling with for a while since the third screenplay.
That's right.
For starters. Wow. On that note, what do you think is a point where you go approach representation as a writer and a filmmaker?
I think the point is when you have gone to a place with your
17,000 TikTok followers.
hell yeah. Exactly that number.
That's just bars or continue.
Yeah.
17,000 TikTok followers.
I'm here, baby. Yeah.
12,000 YouTube followers.
Right. But bro, with this stuff, I feel like the best way to approach is to have these screenplays sharpened to such a degree that they're just fucking good to like 99% of people who read them.
And the feature that you made that I was in, was that your only feature that you directed?
No, I've directed 2, but I haven't written either.
Okay. Dude, I'm so jealous. I think that's so cool.
Thank you.
For starters. But then, okay, secondly, so those screenplays that you wrote,
Yeah.
you haven't filmed any of those.
No.
Dare I say. And okay, so that makes sense that you can even continue refining.
Yes.
Okay. Well, at what point, bro, like, I mean, are you like, turning the wheels unnecessarily? Because on a lot of levels these days,
right,
that it pertains to me too, because a story is subjective. And yes, there's like certain aspects that can get fine-tuned and everything, of course, constantly. But like, even if you take it to a script doctor, a lot of times they'll just like not necessarily make it better, but they'll just like crank it in a different direction or whatever, put their spin on it. And what I've seen in shopping stuff around, especially like for my dad's opinion, is he's like, every showrunner or like studio exec and all these people just want to put their slant on it and make sure that you have these formulaic things intact so that they can say, hey, we contributed something. And those are the most obvious places to turn sometimes, is like the screenplay structure stuff.
Yeah.
Even though that ends up being sometimes the least important shit. But so how do you even know it needs that, rather than like, for instance, these days people are selling shit commonly off of more the pitch Bible or the or like a sizzle tape or something.
Yeah.
And all your stuff horror. So that was a lot I just got into, but
yes, it's all horror. No, yeah. But that's exactly the right track, because for me, I think I'll be retaining the essence of each of these stories. For me, it's getting to the point where I'm like so fucking proud of each one. And I would say that with the 5th one that I just finished last week, I am incredibly proud of that one. And I think it's because I've taken everything that I've learned from the first 4 and I've applied it to that. And I just submitted it to the writers group I'm in with like Sophia Carlin and stuff. So we'll see what they think. But yeah, I think just getting to that point where it's like, I can see, like, if I were to run into any representative, like, in an elevator or whatever, and I like had this script in my hand, would I be able to hand them all 5 and not feel like any kind of anxiety whatsoever? Because I'm like, these are fucking dope.
Airtight.
So yeah, so I don't know if that's just with my own judgment. I don't know how many writers I should give it out to. It's really good points that you're bringing up, because it's like a lot of this is subjective, and I don't want them necessarily pulling it into another direction that I didn't intend.
Just because they feel pressured to say something.
Yeah, dude, totally. Those are the worst readers. And I think there are more bad readers than good readers, unfortunately. And at our levels
Tricky.
too, we're not able to like reach out to. I'm fortunate that I have like 3 great writers with my writers group. I have a great writer producer who can also read it. So I'll probably just keep it in those circles, you know?
I think at the end of the day too, like you're pretty confident with your like film IQ and stuff. Like you've just made so much and stuff. And I think in addition, what I've learned, a big part of all creative stuff is in addition to having it go through people, same thing as anything, you take what the criticisms or whatever in a positive way and say, hey, maybe I'll apply it. But honestly, like I don't have to trust every single little thing that they do. Like movies like Goodfellas and stuff, you know, people, the audience were like throwing the tickets on the ground after the movie, walking out, and then that ended up becoming what it was. So it is subjective.
That's the tricky fucking thing about this.
You gotta like have super thick skin and trust your instincts that you gain when you're a kid about storytelling and stuff.
Yeah, dude. I totally agree. You know, it's interesting too. I want to go back to you saying that you're like super jealous of like what I've done or whatever, right? I appreciate it. But at the same time, I want to point this out. And I think it's helpful for like anyone who's listening at whatever level they're at. Whatever level you're at in this industry, you're always going to have moments of feeling like, oh shit, why am I not at that other place? I had that thought yesterday. And that is what prompted me to be like, yo, you're ready. Like you can, start sharpening previous screenplays. That's the whole thing. Like but those feelings just kind of come up and they're not factual. They're not like evidence-based. And I don't know why it happens to us, but like, even if we were A-listers and like we know like a colleague got a script that we loved, like if we're like Denzel and like Leo gets Inception, you hate Inception, but you know what I mean?
I got an example. I just heard yesterday in that Actors on Actors, I normally hate that, but Bradley Cooper said to someone I forgot, Mahershala Ali, he goes, this new movie he's doing with Guillermo del Toro, he only got it because DiCaprio passed on it. And he brought up, he's like, dude, that exposed my insecurities. I saw this on the E! Channel or some shit. And he's like, I normally don't get, and at least to him, it is shocking to an audience member, but he's like, I normally don't get brought in for these movies with like the A-list of directors. So he says, he's like, I was literally going to quit acting and stick just solely to writing and directing because of that. But he's like, then you kind of break through in a way. And I got this movie with Guillermo del Toro that Leonardo DiCaprio was supposed to get, but I got that. And I'm just listening to that, like, dude, more par for the course. These people who are like the biggest of the big still have their insecurities. And like their insecurities might be laughable and like, but they still probably relatively feel the same as ours. The thing is, I try to like obviously have a healthy relationship with that. So like, if obviously me saying like, dude, I'm so jealous with like what you're doing there. Like I'm confident enough, not to like have to, toot my own horn, but like I'm confident enough to be able to give credit where credit's due, because I tell myself probably immediately after, I'm like, if it can happen to him, it can happen to me too. Totally. And I force that on myself. So yeah. Totally. And I recommend that to anyone.
Yeah. And also you've been in like way more shit as an actor that's like that I look up to, and I'm like, holy shit, like you were in this thing with Caitlyn Jenner. Like that's crazy. You know what I mean? That's
Caitlyn Jenner keeps coming up, baby.
We can flip these tables.
Back and forth. We can just have a compliment session.
I think
yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Of course you have to take a moment and appreciate where you're at. And by the time you usually do that, like check off the boxes of like, oh, this was once a miracle to me. This was once a miracle to me. Right. Getting reps that actually like care about me really badly. Like that was once a miracle to me. I didn't know how I was going to do that. Nailing auditions week in, week out. Couldn't imagine how that was going to happen at some point. Right. Writing two of my own after you do that for a second, I don't care who you are, you can find some wins that you've had. You just got to really think sometimes. You'll feel back to equilibrium again. But yeah, you definitely have to give credit where credit's due. And it's amazing to admire, to have like new dreams too. You got to say like, okay, yeah, I'm not on that same path as that person, but that is something that I'd like to take from their arsenal. That's fantastic. You directed movies before even filming your own. That's great experience. That's invaluable that I would like to have, and I want to embark on that too. But yeah.
It's interesting what you said about Cooper too. I heard something from him when he got, he just finished filming The Hangover, like the first one, and he was on a flight, and he was hearing that it was starting to like get bad reviews, or like people weren't going to the theater or whatever. Like that was like the very, very initial feeling. Okay. When he's on the flight, he's thinking to himself, then I put everything I have into this movie. If this movie fails, then I'm quitting acting altogether. I'm going to leave the business. And then the plane touches down and he hears that it's like this gigantic thing. Wow. So it's interesting that he's,
sounds like Cooper's always one step away from quitting acting.
And what's funny is no one, like the public perception isn't anywhere near that. Like I'm surprised in terms of you're thinking of like actually structuring a film and like, economically, like does Cooper sell that many fewer seats than DiCaprio? Like that's kind of a shocking thing, but I think human beings are so fucking weird in that like we have these dreams and goals, and then when we attain the dreams and goals, we're like happy for a day, and then like we get used to it, we get fucking used to it, and then it's like, okay, well now I'm used to this thing, and not like I'm depressed because I don't have this thing, and it's like this constant fucking chase.
The enjoying the day-to-day is definitely where it's at. And I think the goals that we create for ourselves are just like willing distractions. They're great, but it's just like us making the most of this time we have on earth to get a bit spiritual and deep there, and like it's great. I think I recommend, what I've been kind of encouraged and stuff is to like try to get the most out of ourselves on some level and enjoy life how we can, and take the bitter with the better, be balanced.
Yeah, I like the data.
Help people.
What's that?
Help people. That usually makes you. It's a selfish thing to help people. Yeah. It can be. Yes.
Yeah, that never happens in Hollywood. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that too often for myself, but it's a nice aspiration. Yeah.
I think focusing on the daily is really important. Like if you're happy in your day, you're going to be happy in your life. So it's like I think everyone should be pursuing a goal, but like, I think hyper focus on like, I'm not at this spot is rough.
Yeah. For some people, that's the tendency. Like for like intense people that have had goals for a while, that lifestyle, that's something to fall into. And then for other people that aren't goal oriented and kind of flounder around, but they might get stuck by just being like, dude, I'm not doing anything, or I'm trying to find something I'm interested in. So everyone's got some traps to fall into. Yeah.
Here's an example of like a starting horror filmmaker. I really look up to this person. I'm not going to name names, but this person has done a bunch of different horror shorts that have actually quite a select few, maybe 5. They've really blown up.
It rhymes with Night Shyamalan.
Yeah,
M. Night Shyamalan.
He has gotten like millions of views on.
I think I know who this is.
This is really narrowing the playing field. And
I'm just trying to get to it.
But the interesting thing is, this person has gotten great representation, but in terms of like securing that studio feature, it hasn't happened yet. And I have no idea what their experience is, but me putting myself in that position, it's something that you have to, again, like realign yourself. Like for me, if I got a short picked up, I'd be ecstatic. If I went through this experience of getting representation, I'm getting excited, things are starting to line up, but I'm never getting greenlit for projects. It's like you constantly have to just realign your personal expectations. And that's something, and focus on the day-to-day, because again, you get used to this level, and then it's like, when will this happen? When will this? And dude, eventually it'll get so fucking stupid for us. It'll get to the point where it's like, we're getting like, studio projects greenlit. We're living the dream. We're on sets.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get like a couple $100K less for like a project, or like something doesn't make as much money at the box office as the
Yeah.
movie. That's fucking stupid. But like that's where, if we're not careful, that's where like the mind's gonna go.
That's where the negatives can be.
Yeah.
And again, like you just said, it's a reminder of saying like, hey, it's not bad to want this, but like, am I still, just enjoying the stuff that's in my control, and just appreciating that I'm alive, and like that I can breathe, and that I can see, and all that stuff, and then recognize like, hey, this is a worthy pursuit, this is fun, but at one point this was like I couldn't even dream that I was doing this.
Right. Dude,
Yeah.
I think it's important to look back. Like you said, like right now where we're at could have been like a miracle of what we thought of like a couple years ago.
Don't
At
let
least
the
for me, it
miracles
definitely is.
become normalized. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Dude,
Same thing for me. It is.
I remember distinctly, it didn't happen this year. I can blame it on COVID, but it wasn't that at all. It was just because I wasn't ready for it. But I set this goal for myself that in 2020, I'm going to shoot my first feature. And I hadn't fully written like the first screenplay yet. And for me, the idea of like being a director of a feature, even though this hasn't come out yet, it's still the fact that we shot it. Being like shooting a
Totally.
feature, that to me was so unattainable. And I like told people, and I would feel like, damn, like that, it doesn't even feel right. But
Oh
now
my
it's like,
gosh.
bro, it's like, now it's so normalized. Now I know exactly how to go about it,
Yeah. Your mind's in a different place now.
Yeah.
I love that. I hope that's the case for me too. I mean, I'm sure it will be. And dude, same thing on my end. I feel like I'm starting to sound cocky with this stuff, which is so different from like how I feel in a lot of ways. But like, I had an audition today for a pretty big thing, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I must confess. First audition I've had in the new year. And it's for a comedy, a new comedy pilot, and it was a reoccurring role, like one of the biggest parts in the thing. And
Sick.
it was actually made me chuckle out loud. And I read the script, and like it's just epic. And I knocked it out of the park, like self-tape. And I worked on it with my dad, who, he's done show business stuff forever and everything, and just like making my dad crack up, like go crazy, which on one level is like, I'm so appreciative, because like some people feel like someone was talking to me about this yesterday, like, hey, like, they said that it's not as much of a priority for them anymore to like make their parents proud. And I said, to be honest, like, I don't think that's ever been I'm fortunate to say that like that's not been a big priority for me. I feel like I've always kind of made my parents proud. Or like my parents, I don't know, they set good examples. I'm so fortunate. But
Oh yeah.
with like this type of thing, making my dad laugh like crazy is like, hey, that's fun to see that, like, if we ever had to work together, some people feel, and there was a point for me where I felt like I couldn't be my best performance self around family members or close friends because it's too awkward.
Yeah.
And like, just to have that win is like so epic, for one. And then two, there was a point, like, especially when I was in drama school, dude, where like I was so psyched out. I remember we did a mock audition, and I literally felt that there was even a point where I couldn't get words out, even though I knew the lines.
Right.
And I thought to myself, I think I'm pursuing this film business stuff, but like, I don't imagine a time where I'm going to be able to like crush these auditions. I just don't see it. Or like even the performance. Fast forward a couple of 6 years, 7 years, 8 years later, and like it's just in your sleep. Like you just put in the work, and it just clockwork.
Yeah, dude.
Fun. I'm having fun with it. Yeah.
That's dope. And you can feel that energy on the other side of the table. Like if I have an actor come in and they're like having a great fucking time, dude, you feel that. And then you want to work with them. And
Makes your job easier.
Yeah, bro, that skill is so fucking hard. And me, I was in the same position like 8 years ago, and I haven't made progress in terms of like the acting thing. That to me is amazing. It's amazing to hear like how you can go from that feeling, which is like the default for everybody when you start acting, going into an audition room with that and like the nerves and whatever, and then being able to get to the place of like you're crushing it, regardless of if you book, you're leaving an impression on people.
Yeah. Dude, you said it, man. There was a few points where I did not think I'd be able to get to this level. It's a miracle. And I remind myself constantly, because if nothing else, it's a testament to like the great things you've been through and what great things will come. Yeah.
Hell yeah. I like too how like it's evidence for you the fact that your dad was laughing and what you felt when you were in it. It's like all these things are milestones. You don't only have to be searching after like, did I book this gig? Did I not? Because a lot of the time that's super subjective too.
Yeah. No, that's a really astute point. I mean, yeah, I definitely am at the point where like once we go back to in-person auditioning, like I'm gonna be a good auditioner. And you never know, that stuff could change. But like I always think to myself, like, hey, even if I don't book this, like these are talented people that are getting stuff made. I might work with them down the line and they might see something in me. Like it's an ongoing process.
Totally.
I hate to use the word process, but yeah.
I'm gonna relate this to writing too. I've found 100.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare take it away from acting. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
Of course.
I've found when especially in this last screenplay that I've been banging out, since we're both like patting ourselves on the back, I found that this screenplay, I now have this like cognitive ability to where I'm going through something. And if there's like some kind of missing plot hole or whatever that relates directly with this thing that I'm currently writing, I know exactly in the script where that thing's at. I like move to it. I know the fix. I do it like super fucking fast. And then I return to the other thing. And that skill of being able to weave together a narrative with all the intricate details is something that only came through by like practice. And I'm finding the same with yours too. It's like the fact that you've been doing this. So dude, experience is fucking everything.
Experience is everything. Yeah.
I think that's the lesson. Like if you're not,
I think so too.
Thing, but if you love it, then just keep fucking working at it. And eventually
let time go by.
Yeah.
Let time go by and don't quit. I recommend. I don't know.
It also becomes way more fun. Like you're saying, like the fun part of it, that's because you trust yourself now because you had so much experience to where you can like just knock it out. And you can then relax with all the other stuff that you like weren't really sure of or whatever in the beginning.
Yeah.
When I was writing my first screenplay, I was like shitting my pants. I didn't fucking know how to get to 90 pages. And that's all I was thinking about. How do you move past I don't know how much dialogue I should be doing or all this. It's just lack of experience,
Yeah. When you don't have experience, you find everything to worry about. And then once you like put enough time, you're kind of more convinced that it feels like there's not much to it other than just doing it because you've gone through it and you've seen a lot.
Yeah.
You get on with it quicker. And you're like, let's say someone doesn't like it. You're like, so be it. Whatever, I'll go on to the next thing. I've had wins before and I've had losses when I thought I should have had wins. And I've had wins when I thought I should have had losses. And so I'm not going to sit here thinking all day about it because like it doesn't deserve that much thinking.
Totally. It's all those different moments where like you've had those experiences before. Like when I was first starting to write and like ideas wouldn't come to me, I'd be like, fuck. And I would like, not work on something for like a week or whatever. But now I've learned through all the hours I've spent at this fucking chair, if I just sit here and I'm like this, like an idea is going to come, even if I'm sitting here for like 2 minutes or whatever. It always like, and that's just all because I know, because I've gone through that experience.
That is amazing. I mean, writing is so freaking, it could be just like dismantling because like I was even trying to write down some stand-up stuff the other day and I just didn't know where to begin. And I found a good place to begin, which was like looking at my past notes. It's always a good place to get the mind warmed up. And then I started doing just writing down like lines of like like colder than a something and then more like they're more annoying than a something. And then I literally just obviously I can't come up with them now, but like I literally started writing lines like that and that was like a warm-up thing. Right. And then I told myself, hey, can I do 5? Kind of like on the Daily Show or like any of those late night shows when they like have to submit 3 pages of jokes.
Right.
I was like, can I give myself like a length of a page of all these jokes to do?
Yeah.
It was not easy, bro. So I like hearing that you're at a point where it's like you're just so comfortable sitting down and you don't get thrown off by too much, or even you getting thrown off doesn't like send you over a ledge, like maybe
Right.
it would have at one point.
Do you like the objective when you're writing more on the page side and like that specific substance, or would you rather go for like a time that you give yourself?
I was thinking about that. I like the time. I
Same.
like the time
Yeah.
because that's something you can work with. Like that's very manageable, You get something out of sitting down and just thinking about the piece for a
Yeah.
certain time.
Yeah. Yeah. There are days where like 20 pages fly by in like 4 hours or whatever. And then in those same 4 hours on another day, I could get like half a page. And that's just day specific. And so what I would do when I was thinking just about the page length is I'd like beat myself up over like, oh shit, I couldn't even do this in 4 hours. But like, that's the process of writing. Like writing is this constant flux of like, these ideas are coming into your brain. You're then thinking about how it can fit in the story. And then you're like inserting it in the way that you think it should come out. It's like this very kind of, it's not one process. It's like a bunch of things that are kind of correlated.
100%. It's pretty broad.
Yeah. You told me about this this historical piece.
Dude, thank you for asking. Didn't touch on that this week.
Okay.
My historical piece week. Now I seem so lazy. No, yeah, it's honestly as simple as like my Teddy Roosevelt biography is in my car. And each time I go to my car, I forget to bring it inside. And each time I bring up my computer in the morning to like start writing or whatever, I'm like, it's in the car. And like I'm already like on that time clock a little bit. I'm like, okay, well then maybe my stand-up stuff is more efficient. But realistically, like it's no freaking excuse. I just haven't been as disciplined as I'd like to be right now. I talked to my buddy that has a great office, and I'm gonna start going to his place like every morning to write because I went there today and I got so much done.
Cool. It might be helpful too if you have the same space for the same project instead of feeling like, like for me, it's really helpful to be like, this is where I'm designated this kind of project. For me, dude, this is my dream process is I can do this on the weekends. I can't do it on the weekday, like when I have a day job, but I love working here for 2 hours in the morning. And then for the third hour, I'm still working on the same project, but I switch up the location. And the third is like this coffee shop that's like the same time, same location. Then the fourth spot is in the evening. And that's like a different coffee shop for an hour in the evening. And that kind of like piecing together is like, it's like clockwork. And then you just have this system that's going along.
Dude, I love that. I freaking love that. I love that you do that on the weekends too. That's epic.
Yeah, hopefully one day, every day. That's the dream.
Exactly, like Stephen King.
Dude.
If I write a script, you're saying you'd potentially direct it if I meet your quota?
I will say I'm definitely geared towards horror.
Oh, don't give me the political answer here. Everyone listening.
No, here is my political answer.
Please, diplomatic answer.
Dude, I would fucking love to collab with you on something that you've written. That'd be fucking dope. What I would say is anything that I put my hands on always veers towards horror and like scary. Like if you gave me like this so if you're interested in that kind of like a vibe for your script, but you just have to know that going into this. So like if you're designing a script that's more like the thrillery version of, which doesn't really sound like what.
Hey, I'm open to everything.
But yeah, dude, 100%. I'd love to do something with you.
I love that.
But I want to say like, dude, anything that I touch, anything that I write, and anything that I direct, this isn't me trying to do it, but it always gets into that lane. So like and in that
even if it's originally out of that genre.
Yeah.
Have you done it?
I haven't, I mean, I haven't ever had that chance. I haven't ever had that
Yeah.
opportunity. But I would also say too, my interest level like probably isn't as into it if it's outside. And I
I could
think
sell challenge accepted. I'll sell you on
yeah,
it.
yeah, it's like thinking of my strengths as a director and like how I think and how I can best contribute to a project. And like I just know like if I'm ever given anything, even Blood Brother, which wasn't a horror, it was like a thriller.
Yeah.
That dude, t- and like the writer producer of that, Alina,
Mhm.
she told me too, like bringing me on board, I was able to elevate it to a level of genre where it's like when she was writing a scene or whatever, when she was seeing it being enacted and shit, she was like, fuck, like you're really pulling the scary out.
Darkness out of it.
Yeah.
I love it. I think no, I totally see what you're saying. I think it'd be really interesting from the standpoint of like I come up with something very well could be horror, and then your directing skills. I'd like to work with you anyway because I also think us doing this podcast, I would get more opportunity to offer like my uh or you'd even just see the my vision. And
Yeah.
obviously like with you directing something that I like wrote or whatever, I have like a producing sense too, and I'm sure we would just come up with some type of perfect union. And I'd love to just see, because I liked working with you as an actor anyway, and it'd
Yeah.
be fun to have that collaboration. It'd be epic. We couldn't go wrong, especially if I did it for super low budget and it didn't require much.
Right. And that's what I love doing too. Low budget's the best.
It might be a short. I might come up with a short or something.
Okay. Well,
And
I
I
am
do want to direct. You
should
did swear
also
off shorts.
I did swear off shorts, but you should do that for yourself, 100%.
Yeah. And maybe get to use your film crew. No, they're wired down. They're tied down. They're your slave labor now. They're like
Yeah.
just stuck in your like basement
Like marionettes.
that you like water to come to life.
Yeah.
That's a movie.
Dude, that's dope. That's dope. I would say though, like us to, that idea of like collaborating on something is really exciting because
Yeah.
we work so well together. Like obviously, bro, it's like
Yeah.
an energy thing. Like you can tell like the people who you're gonna creatively be able to collab well with or not.
Yep.
It's just like a thing. I've been really fortunate with the people that I've also met that I've been able to work with too. The process with Alina was great. Ken, who I do like everything else with, we work really well together in that way also. It's like I think it's just about finding that, the tribe and those like select group of people
Totally.
to knock stuff out.
I know. That would be fantastic. I mean, I'm also thinking I lost my train of thought. Dude, there's so much opportunity. It's great.
Yeah. Tell me why you'd be interested in hopping into the director's seat.
Because my eventual like dream lifestyle is to be someone like Spike Jonze, who like despite it, what taste differences I might have from him, like he not only directs movies, but he just has such a body of work. Like he created like the Vice TV channel, he gets to curate different like shows and movies and everything that you're going to see. And then he also like jumps into the acting realm and like funny, quirky things and like Wolf of Wall Street. And then he also is like in Jackass and stuff. And I think directing is the next step from writing and acting.
Got you.
Yeah.
So like,
I don't have the money to produce at this point to just be like a giant producer that some actors do get to do.
Right. That is an interesting scenario if you're in that small camp of people who, dude,
I know him.
Crazy. Yeah,
it's badass. It's a way in to meet people too, because when you say, "Hey, I'm a producer," people like big time people will come to you and be like, "Oh, we need money."
Dude, that's the fucking thing. That is a great in. That's a fucking
great in.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Anyone
figure that out.
If you're a trust fund child,
yes. Dude, more power to him, because to even figure out like, oh, if I use my money in this way, I can actually like a lot of people are just not knowing what to do with it. Yeah, I would assume.
Totally.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. But for the people whose situation that do you ever see the movie Don John? with
I did
Jo-
not, but I know of it. Gordon
yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Morgan. Joseph Gordon Morgan. Yeah.
That guy wrote, produced, directed, acted, and
That's right.
you know, I've tested out everything, and I think that's the most important thing to do. It'll be interesting to see what your experience is like directing, but I think everyone, every actor, every writer, whatever, should try directing and vice versa.
Mhm.
Directors should act. That's a huge one because there are a lot of directors who are camera focused as opposed to actor focused. And I'm lucky because I come from the acting world,
Yeah.
but you know, I think the more you learn about different things, the better. I've found for myself the things that I love doing the most are writing and directing. And that's like it. That's specifically, but I've only been able to come to that conclusion after like years of like trying to figure it out instead.
Yeah.
But I think it's dope you're thinking about like doing across the board.
Thank you. Yeah, why not, man? I mean, I even like reading Bob Iger's book, the CEO of Disney.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to be a studio head. Like I found his life fascinating. For most people in that
You good at
position,
politics.
I don't know. I think I'm diplomatic and like I have, you know, a lot of empathy and stuff. I think directing would be a good test of that, sort of like orchestrating a team. Obviously, to be a CEO, you got to do that.
You do have to be political in a sense, but I think it's different. I would say if you're a studio head, it is comparable to being a director. A director is like a kind dictator. Like that's just the way that it's organized. Like
That's the studio head.
Yeah.
That's the yeah.
Yeah. So if
Pyramid.
you're at the top, it's like you can, dealing with politics is kind of a different thing than like climbing the food chain. So when I'm thinking of like you being a studio head, like there would be some like climbing hierarchy in that sense.
Mhm.
And that's something that I have a difficult time with. I think naturally I just want to like be leading teams and stuff and like, but
We'll
it's
say
part of the game.
yeah, I suppose I haven't put too much thought into like the actual journey it takes, but it's more just like the actual job description of green lighting shows and green lighting everything that happens that a studio is in contact with. It sounds, and you're working with the most talented people in the world, most creative people, and like listening to Bob Iger. Have you heard that book or read that book?
I haven't.
I enjoyed it, and because he like captures these really like niche, profound moments in his life that are like relatable on a lot of different levels, but like it's like cool to see insight into like the big time and what that was like. He's really articulate about it, I think. And yeah, dude, I forgot my original point of that. Oh yeah, like the climbing aspect of it, who knows, but he was talking about like when, because he came from more the corporate business side, not the creative side that a lot of other studio heads come from, or like even being in the movie business. He came from like running like ABC Sports in New York, and then they just were like, you know what, we like what you do. And it was actually kind of like these two like just business types of people that were not snobby at all. They were not part of like the movie like snazzy like coolness vibe in Hollywood, which he said the studio head in LA was like. And he got sent over here, and immediately he was introduced to every big shot in town. And he's like, I'm not gonna have anything to talk to them about. I'm not artistic. I've never worked with creatives. I don't know how to read a script. Literally don't know how to read a script. And like he had, of course, immediately like the sickest mentor ever, who's just like, Bob, just use your instincts. Like it'll all come. And like he just read a lot of scripts, and it just came. Like he just got it to the point where he has some huge standout successes. That's a big part of why his tenure as CEO was successful, is because the things that he decided to greenlight were a lot better than the people around it. That's what it comes down to. It's kind of an act of luck too. The fact that he put Twin Peaks on the TV in the late 80s, I think, right? And like people were like, dude, this guy David Lynch is not reliable. Like he's not going to do an interesting thing. And how can this be on primetime television? Like this is ridiculous.
So weird.
So weird. And he's like, nah, this will shock people and it'll suck people in and stuff. And it was like that, but it actually ended on a bit of a sour note. David Lynch completely derailed from the original concept of the story, didn't have any payoff, and any normal audience member like Bob Iger could see from was like, dude, you're gonna just completely destroy any reason for watching the show by just getting into the character arcs and stuff. And anyway, I found it fascinating.
Yeah, that is interesting. Twin Peaks started off like the pilot is one of the strongest fucking pieces of art I've ever seen in my life. Like,
I haven't seen it. I gotta watch it, I guess.
dude, yeah, totally.
Tonight,
Bro, tonight.
Yeah.
I have speaking of things that we've watched, I watched so much shit this.
Oh, I was gonna ask at some point. Yeah.
I finished Yellow Jackets.
No shit.
Yeah. Yellow Jackets, for anyone who's
baby.
not familiar, is this it's this show on Showtime
That I brought to your attention. Let the record show.
Exactly.
I brought the most
Preface
popular
with
horror
that.
show there is to this horror connoisseur's attention.
Yeah. Free trial. Knocked it
Oh,
out.
Showtime. Yeah. Never
Why
needed
else?
Yeah. You got that free pass.
But yeah, dude, a lot of things that I really liked. But also I felt like there was a lot of filler and a lot of slow moments, which I think you said to me, last week. I will say the pilot was fucking strong. And a lot of that has to do with the director, who's my favorite director of all time. Her name's Karen Kusama. She did The Invitation. And yeah,
What was that?
The Invitation is like my favorite film of all time. It's this, if you're going to watch anything, I'd say watch The Invitation. It's about this guy who's invited back to this dinner party, this extravagant dinner party from his ex-wife at his old house. And it ends up, I'm not going to give away too much, but it ends up, he ends up realizing that something is feeling really wrong and really off about it. And he soon realizes that she's a part of a cult and she's trying to like do something with the fact that they're there.
When did it come out? How have I not heard more about it?
It was like, dude, it hasn't gotten as much heat as I think it deserves. It came out like 2015.
What?
Yeah, dude, it's fire. It's fire.
And it's obviously like respected and stuff if she's like getting giant gigs. Is she like was that her first feature? I doubt it. There's probably like a third or something.
First, I believe she had one feature I didn't see. And then her second feature, I believe, was that weird one where the hot girl like bites off the face of like the boyfriend or whatever.
Jennifer's Body.
Yeah, she did Jennifer's Body.
Now that I know. I actually haven't seen Jennifer's Body either, but make it.
What's funny about Jennifer's Body is like it was marketed as this like it was marketed basically as like this hot girl film or whatever.
Yeah.
Hot girl horror film.
Slasher, hot girl.
Yeah, and that's like not the film at all. And so they were trying to like target like high school boys to come to the theater and see Megan Fox.
Yeah.
But they all ended up hating it. But the reason was because like the movie wasn't made for that audience.
That's fascinating. I also really want to see that now.
Yeah, it's good, bro. Anything Karen Kusama is fucking dope.
All right, so Yellow Jackets, episode 1. I found the characters were like the classic high school tropes.
Yes, true.
Adjacent to like even like Stranger Things, as far as it kind of felt like noir-esque and like them trying to like poke fun at themselves.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
Poking fun. I totally agree with the cliche. Poking fun at themselves.
And like maybe it didn't need to be that like different with the high school characters and stuff. Like for instance, I find stuff like Dazed and Confused.
I love Dazed and Confused. Yeah.
I love Dazed and Confused, right? Like, like even the Matthew McConaughey character and the main dude, like all these characters and stuff were like so true, yet they didn't feel tropish. Like they felt like real life,
right?
Niche, specific, different, like classic, rang true. Even if you didn't go through that, you feel like that happened somewhere.
Right. So you feel like this was kind of too tropey?
It was just we've just seen it on TV so many times recently. In my opinion, that's such a freaking, I swear, I don't take pride in like being the only one to have that take on it. Cause like, it's so appreciated, this show.
Yeah.
And like, trust me, I want to like those aspects of it, but like watching it, like the popular girl being like, "Hey, we're going to the freaking finals," like that wasn't as sick as, for instance, like I think this applies, and I'm not saying Days of Confusion is my favorite movie or anything, but like the Parker Posey plays the main girl doing the sorority or like the high school initiation stuff, and she's like, "Bitches, get on the ground," and I'm pouring powder in your face or whatever. That just felt, I honestly like the tone of it more, and it just directed with more like heart in a
Right.
way.
More like, I think a lot of that does come down to dialogue too, right?
Yeah, it does. The specific like setup of it too, and like, you know, what they're getting at. Because I think what the little I've heard, so I watched episode 1, 2, maybe 3 of Yellow Jackets, and then
Yeah.
I just read the reviews for the whole season. And I'm probably gonna watch it because I'm intrigued by it. And it's obviously well done in a lot of ways. But I think forgot where I was going with that.
I will say when it comes to Yellow Jackets, those kind of tropey things, I think if I were to watch it and be completely like blind to the whole thing, then
Yeah,
I wouldn't have, like, I probably wouldn't have gotten through the first episode. But because I knew that they were going to crash, here's the thing:
totally. That's what I was
payoff,
gonna say.
the payoff in the end of the episode was so fucking baller. I like, and it's a specific moment, and this is like me being directory. When we saw the POV from the main girl in the seat waking up, like she was passed out, and then she wakes up, and then she sees straight in front of her this girl, her teammate, like falling on the ground and being like pushed back and forth as this plane is going down. That payoff for me was like so fucking exhilarating that I was like, that it, dude, it was just a visual of the girl on the ground like being like slammed from like side to side on this thing as the plane was going, and then the panic on the other girl's face. I'm like, I fucking love this.
You loved the experience of the like horror,
Yeah.
the reactions
Yeah.
to this crazy that you thought it was really well done.
That part was really well done.
Yeah,
I agree with the
can't disagree with
tropiness
that.
of the other stuff, but that and also I think there's something about like planes. Like I need to do, someone in my writers group is like writing like this like thrillery kind of thing on a plane. Anything with planes to me is like like I
Kind of
love
sick.
planes. Yeah, it's
I do too.
like Red Eye is great. There's that one with
Snakes on a Plane is a masterpiece.
what's that?
Snakes on a Plane is a modern day
Snakes on a Plane,
masterpiece.
of course.
Yes.
There's the Liam Neeson one, Nonstop, which just
Taken to the air.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Liam Neeson in any movie I'm about. It's like he was first in Nonstop, which is on a plane. It's like Liam Neeson on a plane, and then it was The Commuter, which was Liam Neeson on a train. Liam Neeson can be in anywhere in the world.
Mobile vehicle.
Yeah, that's next.
Or just
I'm
like
about
catching
it.
something. Dude, I love that you say that because I completely agree. I think that the show's awareness is more getting at, hey, we're gonna be, you know, the setup of like the characters and stuff is one thing, and like, yeah, there's girls that definitely have that experience and stuff, but we don't need to be revolutionary in that realm. The formula is okay. We're just going to change the details a little bit. You know, the girl's going to be pregnant with her best friend, saying that's kind of different and stuff.
Right.
And then it's more about the cultishness of what happens amongst the girls once they get into this crazy plane crash that becomes a bit like Lost. And then to a different degree, and they talk about religion and get into like this crazy sense. And I assume for most people, that's when the show really gets interesting.
Yeah, I will say that I really like them flipping from the past to the present. That was dope.
I did too, yeah.
But something I didn't like.
Dude, wait, I'm sorry. That kind of copied True Detective. And I'm sure True Detective wasn't the first one to do that either. But anyway.
It's been, I think I saw a few episodes of True Detective, but it's not top of mind. But that's interesting.
Yeah.
So they go like back and forth like that. They use the same technique.
Yeah, same story concept. And that was kind of the first time I'd seen that with True Detective 1. They went back and forth. They might have even done 3 eras.
Interesting.
And I'm not saying it was intentional to like, it could have been like an homage to that, which I'm totally fine with. Anyway, continue your analysis.
The only other thing that I didn't like is besides like the slow aspects where they're just kind of like talking, They're not really doing anything. And that's a hard thing too. Like when you're in the wilderness and that's the whole premise, like how do you fill an entire series with that with keeping it interesting? It's rough. But the thing that I really didn't like is when they started veering into the more like witchcraftiness of like the thing.
You didn't like that.
Nah.
I love that. That's a hot take to me because I heard from someone that they're like, dude, you haven't even seen the show. Like it gets way sicker when they get into the religiosity, the witchiness.
I felt like it wasn't justified. My feeling with it was
Love
like
that take. Love that.
Yeah. My feeling was, they're in the middle of the woods with this survivalist thing, and that shit just kind of comes out of nowhere. It's like they get on. I'm not going to ruin it for you. Well, you already read the whole fucking summary.
Please,
please, they get on shrooms, and then like they're like,
oh, that's just so like relevant. That's so topical right now. Mushrooms.
Right.
They had to work that in somehow. I'm telling you, man.
Got it, bro. They checked out that box.
Yes, even if it was unintentional, it's just like I bet that was in their subconscious. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, dude. I found though, like that was their mechanism of veering into the witchcraftiness of it, which they never fully explained. It was very surface level and only like bits and pieces to where you're like, why is this happening here when they're stranded? Like it just didn't come from anything.
I'll tell you why. Without have seeing it, I can guess that they just found that kind of vibe badass. And you know freaking why? It's not because it's a perfect show or anything by any stretch, but True Detective started touching on the witchcraft stuff in the South, in this creepy shit and stuff. I swear. And it was already becoming hip by then too. And now all these other shows are running with it. That's what happens, dude. Someone does something or they put a song in a movie or in a TV show and other things steal it. And it's completely fine. But I'm just labeling it.
I got to check out True Detective now. That'd be interesting to compare the two. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Certainly check out first season of True Detective. It touches on this kind of like weird witchy Southern shit that goes on the drug scene in Louisiana Bayou, and it infringes on the horror genre as well. And it's just like this character study about what it was like for these two cops going through this like crazy demonic like Southern shit that makes like any West Coast thing look like a walk in the park for crime. Yeah.
I saw Scream,
the new one.
What
do we think?
Loved it.
Love that you loved it,
bro. It's did you see it yet or not?
No,
I watched it at the Paramount Drive-In Theater with my girl. Have you ever been there?
I think we talked about it. I haven't. No, is that?
Yeah, I think I wrecked it, dude. It's like very 1960s vibe. Like it's literally
like it.
Feels like you're in. It's like the best time. I fucking love it, dude. I highly recommend. You just go pull up. It comes through your radio in the car. You bring food. Like it's way better than going to the theater.
So it's a giant projector, and then you have it on the radio.
Yeah,
that is cool.
And it's like being in a theater, except you have your own private room,
Crazy, dude. How much is it?
It's like $11 for the whole car.
Cheaper than a normal one.
Yeah.
Maybe. Oh my gosh. So that's dope. So what? They cover the classic themes of Scream of like, hey, we know what you did last summer. Was that or am I mixing up something else? And
that's a movie.
Yeah, that's a separate movie.
It is a separate movie.
But wasn't Scream like the main cast? Like they killed someone, and they thought they were gonna hold it as a secret forever, and then Scream is like holding them, captive of like he keeps calling like, I know what you did type thing, and then he comes out and tries to kill everyone. Or is this completely separate from that?
Completely separate.
All right, that's good because I didn't like that original plot. No, I'm kidding. I might be conflating many different movies.
Dude, I like that version of Scream though. It's like completely tied to I know what you did last summer. Back. I know what you did still.
I think I'm getting that from Scary Movie.
Yeah, I can
say they might be combining it.
Yeah. But dude, here's why Scream was so successful. Like the latest one.
Yeah, it was a hit.
What's that?
It was a hit.
Yeah. Dude, yeah. It's like everyone's watching this movie now because it's catching word. That's the thing about great horror movies is like
Slow burns.
it doesn't need anyone. Yeah, if you're seeing it and you love it, you're telling other people. So like this film, they took like the elements that work so well in Scream. They took, they brought in some of the old cast, so it's like we weren't abandoning it completely, but they spun it in such a fresh way. Wes Craven died, so they brought in these two new guys, and they directed.
The Safdie brothers.
No, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
It'll come to me. They directed the movie where like that new bride is like in this murder game from the family of like the new family. I don't know if you saw that. It came out like
My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
technically.
Slightly different.
But like this film, they took all like the old elements that worked. And then, dude, I knew from the get, like when they opened with that first scene where you saw the original Scream, right? With Drew Barrymore. Yeah, she's got the phone and like they're like, I know, like I see you, like all that shit.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
Shocker, you didn't gain that from my description. Okay.
Right. It started with that scene, but it was updated in a way that was so fresh and engaging. Like there's this part, and this is even in the trailer, where it's like she gets the call. It's the same voice actor, by the way, which is great. Like it sounds the exact same. And she's using her phone. She's getting like texts, and she's also on this landline phone. And she's like trying to like lock all the doors on her phone, and then they keep unlocking like by themselves and shit. And it's like how they integrated the 21st century with everything that worked with the original Scream. It was like effortless and like natural, and it works so
called for.
Yeah, dude. It was and the kills were great too. The kills were fire.
That's epic.
Yeah.
They were creative.
Totally creative, and it's disgusting. It's like,
yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Horror porn.
Yeah. It is.
Yeah, I think a good like reboot or revisit of a movie takes all the fundamentals of the original story and then applies it to where those characters are now or where the world is now. And if it does, a good experience, I mean, a writer should hopefully have the same idea of like, hey, what would happen in that situation if we were to apply the same heart of it, right?
Totally. And dude,
they did a good job of that. Cool.
Yeah. What? That's a dream for me. Being able to take something that I loved as a kid, like
me too.
Yeah.
Like I've been talking about some buddies. Like, what if we took video games? How's there never been a Zelda movie, like a good Zelda movie?
True.
What are you gonna say? Yeah.
Dude, they've mangled so many reboots of The Ring. Like, they kind of suck. But
The Ring, the scary movie.
Yeah, like the reboots of it, like Rings and shit. I don't know if you've seen them, but like the latest one came out like 2018 or something.
The musical?
Yeah.
I want to make The Ring the musical.
You see Tomorrow on stage.
I'm coming for you in 7 long days. Enjoy them while you can, you miserable douche.
Perfect. Let's produce that shit.
I'm gonna go to those guys with the rights. Yes, we will.
But dude, if I could take a character that I loved as a kid, even The Grudge, which I think we talked about, like
of course,
and bringing it to the 21st century, it's such a hard challenge, and there are so many people who could potentially be disappointed. Like people are looking to hate that movie, because they love the original so much. Yeah. And so I'm like, if I can take a character that I love so much and then make it fucking engaging and dope and like fresh. That's like if I could take Samara and like, dude, that's
fucking that into an interesting, riveting scenario that is on the same fundamental maybe of what scared us in the beginning.
Yep.
Now apply to a situation that's like, well, what would happen here?
Yes. Exactly.
What do you think of the Pet Cemetery reboot, the new one, or It for that matter?
Loved it. I think the first It was way better than the second.
Oh, I haven't seen the first. Cool.
Gotta check out the first.
It was like a TV movie, wasn't it?
Oh no, I was talking about like when they
the new ones.
Yeah, but new ones. There was like a part 1 and 2. Did you see those?
I didn't see the second one, I don't think, but the first one.
Yeah, but dude, I mean, talking about the TV movie, that's like a weird movie, dude. There are parts of it that are scary, like the shower scene where he's like reaching out of the shower or whatever. It's like there are some scary moments. But what was the original question?
And what do you think about the also in addition to that, the reboot of Pet Cemetery?
Oh yeah, dude. Uh
Wasn't
I
as well received.
yeah, I didn't love it.
Okay.
What did you think?
So I found obviously like good production value, like really well made and stuff, but I just thought it got like a little long in certain parts.
Interesting.
Like 3 quarters in, I was like, dude, the kind of like the final climax of like I think it was the kids going to the
Yeah, the
haunted
king.
house.
Yeah,
Yeah, and like that took so long, and like
right.
I could only take so much like pop, like quick jump, like horror stuff, and then I also it was like super like you've touched on with Yellow Jackets, kind of like open ended about like what happens. Like I didn't really get what happened in it from what I remember. Like
This
or did they all get killed off? Like did just all the kids die? Like that's not the most like interesting answer to me, you know?
didn't get killed off, but
Well, maybe that's why I thought it was
you
interesting.
didn't know that though means it wasn't clear enough. So there you go.
Sure. Or maybe it's just that I don't remember correctly, but
That's why there was a part two because like it was them grown up.
makes sense.
But the second film was even longer than the first.
Yeah, I
Dude,
did
and
hear
that
that.
was the biggest complaint about the second one is it was like long, long.
Strange. Wait, so how do they not? Maybe what I'm getting at is like, why didn't they get rid of it? Or is it an enemy that can even be killed altogether? And if he's not, that's kind of annoying, I think.
I think the concept is like, no, I know the concept is like,
I bet you do.
yeah, he gets like shriveled up and weak if like they don't fear him, and then he retreats back into the ground, but he comes up like a cicada every like 17 years.
Yeah, like that's so unbelievable in my book. Maybe to some other smarter people, they might be like, "Oh, that actually happens."
Dude, it
But
gets
like,
crazier. That was like Stephen King. I think he was no, I won't say anything bad about Stephen King, but it was in the period where he was experimenting with different things. You know what I mean?
interesting. I
And
appreciate your knowledge.
he was like a space the backstory of it is like this space, like it comes from space. It's like this entity, and it comes with this giant green turtle, and the turtle is like the good side of like the world, and he's like the bad side of the world, and then they like land in the world. It's like
See,
very
that's kind of sounds more interesting to me. I would have liked to have seen that in the movie. A little explanation.
that'd be crazy. Imagine like seeing that visually. I don't even know how you do that.
I'm sure someone can come up with some way to do it, right?
Yeah.
And then Pet Cemetery, I think it did pretty well, but it was kind of like made fun of a little bit because people just lumped it together with the new It. Because there's like good production value and people were like super hyped about Stephen King movie, especially after that. And I thought I liked it for what it was. Like I thought, of course it was like not believable, especially that like after, the plot line of like the guy's daughter dies and he goes to this old man and is like, the guy's like, I'll bring your daughter back to life, but she won't be the way she came. And he's like, ooh, that doesn't sound too good. But what if I did bring her? And he's like, even though like there's someone that would do it somewhere, it just felt like way too like a movie.
Right.
But I also still found it creepy and kind of a fun movie to watch.
Yeah, I agree. But it's not a movie I'd like watch again and again. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And also, I think if I were to like attack that script and if I were to direct that film,
Sure.
I would have gone for a much scarier vibe and tone. Like I think they very much so like
Oh.
I think that concept can be so scary if you just shoot it right. And I feel like throughout it's like they basically, to me it felt like they were like, this is what a creepy atmosphere, like a generic creepy atmosphere is like. And then they kind of just like shot the movie without like really like pulling out all the fucking creepy elements. Like it was just a moment like he like looked over and like the girl is there. Like they could have done so much shit, dude. And I just, yeah, I was
Dude,
a little disappointed.
oh my gosh, I could go into that a lot more. I love here. I hadn't thought about really from like a director standpoint of like what that vision could really amount to.
Right. And you know what? Something I found too with like directing other people's scripts is I've gotten confident in the fact of like if you're a director, you're not just shooting the script. You're like you are very much putting your spin on like this on the material.
Script, yeah.
Yeah. And you can spin it in so many different directions and it can be a completely different film. And that's a lot of directors have the insecurity of like if they don't write the thing, they can't direct it. But I think
Okay.
every director should try that.
On a slightly different note, and we're probably wrapping up pretty soon, right?
We are
Um,
got lots to do. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, dude, get to
A
it.
hustle,
Well,
bro. You got to get that book from your car.
I
That's your
freaking
priority.
do
Right?
that. If I can just get my book for my car by next week, that'll be a
I'll
win.
be checking in next week. Did you get that book?
I'll be like, I don't know.
Still working on it.
I'm going to New Orleans tomorrow morning, so maybe
No shit.
I'll ride on the plane.
What are you doing in New Orleans?
Friend's wedding,
Okay. Have
and
you been?
I used to go. You're talking to a New Orleans veteran here. I no, my school was in Dallas College, so we would have like a lot of excursions to New Orleans. I had some buddies from New Orleans too. And I don't know, it's almost it's a crazy time to be like traveling for me and stuff, but I feel like I gotta go to my buddy's wedding, and I'm probably just like not gonna drink because I felt low resistance. I already had COVID. It's ridiculous, but I don't know. I'm probably just gonna be low key.
Yeah.
Wait, what was I gonna say? So your writers group, you guys are still meeting weekly in addition to your writing stuff, or are you guys doing it remote?
Meeting monthly and it's remote.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah. So we definitely pumped the books a bit, but we're all doing our, when we meet, we have like stuff, which is good.
So it's effective still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you the only one that directs that's in that?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Yoni might, or maybe he's been thinking about directing. I'm not quite sure. I know he's at least like into horror stuff, but yeah.
That's one checkbox
Yes.
off on the Jacob rubric.
Do you have like a writer's group?
I've gone through phases. I'm actually but no, I don't at the moment. I have a stand-up comedy couple of buddies that we're gonna start writing together a bit.
Cool.
And I have my writing partner. Yeah.
Oh yeah, in London.
Yeah. No, he's a couple thousand miles away.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're just trying to get that stuff together. And it's great. And it'll be interesting to see if we come up with other stuff together too. But I feel like we still have a lot of like, marketing shit to get together for this.
Right.
It's crazy, dude. The process I've seen through this is like fascinating.
Just keep hustling, bro. That's all you can do.
Exactly. No one cares. Work harder.
Dude, I'm glad you clocked that. Holy shit.
That's on your cup?
Dude. Yeah, I thought you saw it. And then you said
by the clock. No. I said that anyway. It's not the most common saying either.
Bro, did you get that from like the football player or whatever?
David Goggins? I think David Goggins, right? Or something.
There was originally I heard it from I even forget like who the player was, but like someone lost the game and like everyone was like,
Tom Brady.
Like, maybe. But like when they came into the press conference the next day, he was wearing a shirt that said no one cares, work fucking harder. And I was like, yo, that's so true. And it's on my fucking mug. So anyone like that shit.
You sounded like a tech startup like leader or something. And get that, and now it's on my fucking wall. Like having a poster right when you walk into our store.
It's like Joseph Gordon-Levitt in that film he's doing.
In the Uber one or whatever.
Yeah, the Uber one. Yeah.
Oh, in my wildest dreams. Dude, I'm literally the test of like if there's mantra stuff actually like help is it like I have thought that when I've like been in low places.
Yeah.
And like I've been like, no one cares. Like basically what it means to me in that situation is like you got to get to that end point, the results kind of anyway. Even though you shouldn't be
Yeah.
result oriented, it's like you got to figure out how to get what you want, and you're not gonna figure it out now, but like just keep going, just like
Totally.
keep going.
This is a sad reality. It's inspirational because it's true. It's the fucking truth. No one gives a shit. You know, you can like
It
have
can be
like,
liberating.
yeah, it is
Liberating
liberating
too. Yeah.
because you can be like, you can have all this self pity and shit and be like, oh, woe is me. Like I can be like, woe is me. Like I don't have a representation, dude. No one gives a fuck. Like seriously, you know?
The point is you shouldn't either.
Yeah, yeah,
Get to point B any way possible, you know, like someone else figured it out. Like you go without hurting people, figure it out too.
totally. And one more thing on that is like, don't give a fuck what your age is. And that's such a hard thing to do. But it's
Yeah.
like, dude, like being like maybe you are 30 or 35 or 65, but like an age shouldn't mean you give up on your thing. Like just keep after it. Like that's all you can do. That's the only mode you can be in.
Yeah. Like what can you do to improve your life this week, you know, and just go by your own scoreboard.
Yeah, dude.
All right, brother.
It's good shit to end on.
Yeah. A little reflection, a little positive advice.